So this week, instead of talking about a particular piece of technology, we're going to talk about a technology hotbed that's come out of the Army. So about a year ago, the 18th Airborne Corps, which is the group that handles all the airborne units across the Army, think 101st Airborne, 82nd Airborne Division, started what's called the Dragon Lair Innovation Challenge. The Dragon's Lair essentially is like a Shark's Tank style competition. Soldiers write in a proposal, very summarized version of a piece of technology or way of or practice of doing things that would improve things for soldiers or improve things by saving money or having kind of tech fixes.
Now we have an excellent view of a multifunctional display on which to conduct our analysis.
The leadership then sifts through all those applications, all those pitches essentially, and picks about 5 people to come to Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the headquarters of the 18th Airborne Corps. Some have to do it remote, obviously, for certain reasons. They then pitch their ideas to this board of experts, both in the subject matter they're looking at, whatever kind of technology it is, and of course Army leadership that might see an application for this in a tactical way or an operational way. One of the early winners of the competition about a year ago was a simple attachment to a forklift that would allow it to lift things like generators or air conditioning units and move them around a motor pool or around a lot, rather than having to take a Humvee, drive it all the way in, hook it up to the trailer hitch, and then move that piece of equipment maybe a few hundred feet. That was one piece of simple technology that got some attention very early in the competition about a year ago. Another one involved planning, essentially. An Army officer came up with an idea to build an app that would allow people to select range training times to make sure that they're not conflicting with other units for the range, but also to input data while on the range into a smartphone app so that all that data was readily available and back to headquarters immediately, instead of bringing a whole bunch of paper like it's 1985 and sitting down at some terminal at the headquarters to type it all in late at night after the training range is done. A pretty interesting tech solution that won the most recent competition this fall was from an Army Black Hawk helicopter pilot who also has developed this as a side business potential company for an augmented reality video feedback system for pilot error, pilot correction. So essentially this pilot had flown civilian side and also flown, of course, in the military, and really didn't like how he was getting feedback without having someone sitting right next to him physically in the cockpit. Oftentimes that's not an option. So he created a camera system using augmented reality tools to see the cockpit display, record that information, and calibrate what exactly is going on with the controls as he's using them for, say, landings, takeoffs, or certain maneuvers. And that information is immediately fed back, almost like an instant replay in a football game, so that the pilot can learn from their errors and correct themselves for the next flight. Now, the most recent competition just closed. Now, one of the competitors who did make the finals but hasn't gone through the final exposition portion is actually a Navy Lieutenant Commander. That's because the Army just opened this up to all the services. So this Navy Lieutenant Commander developed what's called an augmented reality bridge. A bridge on a ship is basically where the commander sits and sees what's going on and controls all the stations. Now, there's a lot of blind spots on a ship, whether it's on the port side or starboard side, fore, aft, bow or stern. There's different places they can't actually see all the time. But by equipping different parts with cameras and putting on augmented reality goggles, a commander can now see all over the ship at any time and communicate with watch standards in different parts of the ship and different areas of the ship for security reasons and for maintenance concerns. And this isn't just an opportunity for soldiers to give great ideas and see them run off and be implemented. Obviously that's the most important part, but soldiers also get a little bit of a benefit from it. They get 4 days free Liberty Pass, they get a meritorious service medal, and the Army training school of their choice. The Black Hawk helicopter pilot I mentioned earlier chose military freefall school, so he'll be not just flying helicopters, but soon jumping out of airplanes. For Military Times, this has been Todd South.